Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're really well. Welcome to the next of our Essential series. So during the Essential series, we explore what wealth means to modern women by providing them with the financial, legal, and emotional knowledge to take control of their wealth and well-being with confidence. Most of us are reasonably good at dealing with health problems once they arrive, but far fewer of us have thought seriously about the risks that we're quietly building up years before any symptom appears. As a prolific ill person, I know about this firsthand a lot, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Kate Woolhouse, who is CEO of Hooke Health. Kate's going to be joining us to tell us all about what it really means to invest in your lifespan and why the most important health conversations are often the ones you haven't yet had. So please note this is for education purposes only. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Kate directly afterwards. So Kate, welcome. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, good. So tell us, what do you do? Why do you do it? Yeah.
Okay. So I run Hooke. By way of background, how did I get here? I worked as a lawyer for 10 years. My specialism was intellectual property and data protection law, and I spent a lot of my time working with startups and like innovative businesses that were building something new. So in a way, unbeknownst to me, it was probably a good background to what I do now. I had a pivot 7 years ago now, when my father founded Hooke out of a personal interest in health and healthcare and thinking that it could be better than what is currently available to most people. I jumped on board. Because I was a bit bored of working in law, and I was just really thinking I wanted to work somewhere that was really exciting and trying to do something new. So I brought with myself my legal kind of experience in precision, evidence, process to help them build a model and scale, and my experience of working with innovative businesses who were just getting off the ground and trying to work out what their place was in the commercial world that they were entering into.
Well, you seem to have nailed it. So yeah, what a brilliant merging of minds. And what about the existing health model? Was it that you thought, let's do this better? I mean, I think a lot of us will have our own views on what is wrong with the existing health model, but from your perspective.
It felt like healthcare was trailing in many ways behind what we were seeing if you look at it from like the point of view of somebody who wants to pay for the best of services, and you look at the kind of service that they receive in wealth management firms, in law firms, in tech and hospitality, travel firms, etc. It really felt like healthcare was kind of lagging behind. There just wasn't that certain level of 5-star service delivery. And that's kind of it on like a personal level. You know, you always felt like even when you're going to see a really good doctor in a good hospital, often you're not being treated particularly well, whether it's the billing that's going wrong, your results getting lost, whatever it is. And then the other thing was just the underlying fundamentals of healthcare and how it's often it still is, even at a high level, it's very reactive. You go and see your doctor when something's wrong. And in between, you may go for an annual health check, and it's usually pretty basic, and they have a look at your bloods and, you know, into your eyes and ears, and they say, you seem to be okay. Come and see me if something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then there was another side of it, which is this slightly more performative kind of medical spa model, where you go and you get lots of nice treatments in a very nice environment, which is also perhaps clinically underpinned. But a lot of that is maybe not, because it's being delivered at point of care, it's not necessarily attuned to what you truly need. It's more like, this is a nice service that we provide and you can have it in a nice space. So we kind of said there has to be more to it. There's a lot of good science out here. There's a lot of people who have done research saying that your later years don't have to be a period of decline. You can try and make yourself better. And it just felt like, and there were lots of practitioners who were interested in this model, but there were places where it was being delivered effectively.
Yeah, love that. And okay, let's just start with like back to basics. What actually happens when someone becomes a member at Hooke? So, you know, what is the model and how does that differ from, you know, these private GPs or health checks that you just mentioned?
Sure. So, I mean, as by way of background, what Hooke does is we offer in-depth health assessments, and we also offer a membership program for people who want to work with our team on an ongoing basis. So when somebody first comes to us, there's an onboarding process. So they have a detailed initial medical consultation. They'll talk to a GP. They go through their medical history. They go through their family history. They go through their concerns. They go through their goals. We kind of start to build a profile for them. And then after that, most people will go to do an investigation with us. So there's a core investigation, which is applicable for the vast majority of people, and it focuses on all the elements that you need to kind of tune into in order to create a picture of your health and find areas for improvement. And that's looking at your core medical markers, nutrition, fitness, cognitive and emotional resilience. And then on top of that, people will layer in any kind of specific imaging that they need or want. So MRI scans, CTs, coronary angiograms, DEXA scans. You can go as deep or wide as you need to or want to. And then advanced tests such as genetics, gut biome tests, circulating blood tumor cancer screening, biological age tests, we can bring that all in. Again, it's kind of dependent on interest and need. We don't throw the kitchen sink at it. That's kind of fundamental to our approach, is you don't need all the data all at once. And there's also different risk profiles to some tests, which may mean that you don't want to have some of them at particular points in life. And then after all of the data comes back, it's followed by doctor-led interpretation. So the whole team sits down together, they look at the markers, they put together a report, and then there's an in-depth presentation of that report with the client. So up to 2 hours to sit there, ask questions, run through everything, understand like what's going on. And then there's a follow-up built in, and after that, a membership proposal follows. So that's specific to the individual. So your membership proposal will always include unlimited access to the team, a relationship manager, GP, 7-day-a-week concierge service, which provides fast-tracked appointments and referrals. And then with that, we can add on nutrition programs, fitness programs, coaching, whether it's executive coaching or health coaching, and like any number of other things, personalized supplements, prescriptions, referrals, you name it. We just kind of want to provide this really great health experience for people where they can improve their health and get access to all the services they need.
Amazing. So it's like this is your life, but from a health perspective, you go through.
But from a health perspective, exactly.
I love that. I love that. And, the theme of today's discussion is lifespan, and that word lifespan gets used quite loosely. How do you think about it? And what's the difference between simply living longer and living well for longer? I think we've got all these guys, thinking I'm going to live to 100, but actually, is that healthy with what they're doing and the way they're going about it?
Is that something everyone wants? So I'm all for everyone should pursue their own goals and mission in life. So if you want to try and live to 140, God bless. We talk a lot about the difference between lifespan and health span. I'm sure many of the people here now know what that is. So your lifespan is literally how many years you're going to be alive, and your health span is how many of those years you're going to be healthy and well. So what nobody really wants is more years in decline, which is actually what modern medicine has kind of got us to. We're very good at keeping people alive, but we're not very good at keeping people well. So we've added, however many years to our lifespan over the last 50 years, but actually those years are not spent in good health. So what we're trying to do is to increase the number of years you spend in good health. So you will live to 80 to 90, whatever it is, but hopefully only your last few years you will spend unwell, as few years as possible. What the biohackers are kind of doing is creating this bubble for themselves where they're taking supplements and they're optimizing their lifestyles to quite an extreme degree and hoping that that's going to take them to 140. I would say that sort of extreme optimization is not something most of our clients are looking for. They're looking to kind of make tweaks to their existing lifestyles and hoping that they will stay well when they're 80, 90 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal to have, living well for longer, definitely. And especially when it comes to things like, Alzheimer's and brain health and the impact of that is a huge discussion. I think there was a piece in the paper this weekend about people in their 40s, really taking more awareness and more consideration about actually keeping mentally agile alongside being physically agile, because dementia, I know my grandmother had it for sort of 6 years. She was incapacitated, and my dad would say you wouldn't keep an animal like this. So it is very tricky about how we want to live well. And I guess you've got your amazing team of in-house doctors, nutritionists, fitness specialists, psychologists, and you have that team element of it. Why does that structure matter rather than just having a single doctor?
The thing with any specialist is that they look at things through their own lens. So, a GP will be more of a generalist, and endocrinology will look at hormones. A nutritionist will look at the nutrition. Somebody specializing in the gut will go to the gut. And what you want is for them to look at it holistically so that they can make a plan for you and they can identify the pain points between them. Inevitably, the team will come to a better overall plan for you than any individual, although you do still need that relationship manager who kind of ties it all together ultimately, otherwise it gets a little bit lost. So there's kind of like, if you look at something like a hormonal shift, for example, which is very multifaceted, and we'll probably come back to this over the course of this conversation, but a GP might get caught because might miss things, whereas a psychologist will be like, oh, there's been a mood change, or the nutritionist is like, there's something going on with the metabolism because things that were working before aren't working, and you kind of need to triangulate all of that together. Often markers are inside range but moving, and the overall picture is changing. So what the team does is they look at the whole picture together, and they're like, there's been a shift, and we need to kind of see what's causing this shift and how we can help manage it. So the team kind of catches things that will fall between specialities. And what's nice about having them work together is it's not like a referral where you're being pinged from one person then to another person, then to another person, then you go back to the first person who's forgotten all about you. They'll actually sit down in a room and they'll talk about it together.
Yeah, I think that joined up approach is so important when it comes to, private client work, in all that we do. That it's so often that things get dropped or forgotten, and having that central point of contact, having an actual relationship manager for your health is incredibly valuable, because often it is quite overwhelming for the patient or, the client themselves to actually be on top of it. Where did that blood test go? What did that say? I don't know. When have I got this scan? And then that, perpetuates the stress of actually trying to be well. So let's go. So if someone is coming to you for the first time, it's often you might uncover things that they don't already know about their health. What might you typically find from
this is a great question. So there's obvious things. So, we're looking for things like coronary plaque or early stage cancer because we just want to tick off whether or not there is any disease that we need to deal with. So that's the sort of things that people have in mind when they first come. What we find more widely across the board is there's a lot of over supplementing, especially with vitamins, which are found in lots of formulations that are currently trendy on the market. People are taking lots of vitamin Bs. They may not really know why. They think they're for energy, but whether or not you need them is something. They might be taking loads of vitamin D, which is mostly good for you because we're all low. But again, it's in so many formulations, it can actually be toxic. So you do want to sort of know how much you're taking. And then equally, they're taking loads of one vitamin. They're completely under supplementing with something else like omega-3s. We see a lot of osteopenia. So everybody's talking about, osteoporosis is low bone density. Osteopenia is kind of when you're on the way to osteoporosis. It gets talked about a lot now because we're all very much alive to the risks that come with menopause. And it is very common in women, but it's also showing up in men quite a bit. It's often a surprise. No one's really expecting it. It's not something that they have considered, and it can come much earlier than people expect. So people in their 30s can have osteopenia. It can be linked to hormones. It can be linked to diet, like if your diet's low in dairy, or maybe you dieted when you were younger. There's all sorts of kind of risk factors that come into play, and bone density can be improved, which is why we really look at it. It's hugely important later on in life. But you can stop the decline through diet, through supplements, through strength training. And it's something you just need to be keeping an eye on because it's so actionable. Other things we often find is very much lifestyle focused. So diet is good, but it might be it's suboptimal for the type of training that they're doing, or it's being very compromised by travel and eating out because they're eating well at home, but at home is actually only 50% of the time. Or they might be training a lot, but they're only training one area. So everybody who exercises a lot tends to like love cardio or love strength training, and they don't do the other one, or they're ignoring injuries rather than rehabilitating them. So they're just like, yeah, powering through, but got this knee.
So wearing away.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Or sleep's a huge one. Sleep might be ruining what is otherwise like a pretty good health routine, but they're like, I'm sleeping so badly, I just can't do it, I'm tired. So the general theme is like we get a lot of high performing people, and they're often excellent at ignoring or like normalizing what they're doing until like the data makes it undeniable. And they're often a little bit in denial about like, I think I'm doing really well. Like I'm doing really, really well. I'm doing everything right. And you kind of look at it and you go, you're trying really hard, but actually there's 25% that we can improve, which is quite a lot.
Yeah. Effort and attainment isn't quite aligned. And also, do you probably find women underplay sort of, there's a thing about how we underplay our own pain thresholds, and actually, we trudge on quite a bit more, even if we're going through certain symptoms, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, etc. We're like, it's fine, it's normal now. And actually, it doesn't always have to be that way.
I mean, I think I've seen that in myself. Like, I think women do have a higher pain threshold, and we're so used to not being listened to that it's like tiresome bringing those problems to a medical professional. It's something that we just have to be super alive to.
Exactly. And I think this is also, feeds back to your model, is that there are many people to listen to you, and there are many people to align to as well. And lots of people looking at one problem will come up with a solution, law of averages, etc. They all find that.
I hope it's a little better than that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that was probably a crap analogy. But what determines someone's long-term health outcome? Because there's our fixed biology, there's all the hereditary conditions, etc., that we might have. But then we've also got behavior and the day-to-day lifestyle. What do you see as
it's an area of hot debate, and some people will say as much as 97% is modifiable, and some people will say completely the reverse. There's actually a very good study that came out on this last year, looking at it was evaluating multiple studies and stripping out the effects of like accidental deaths, basically, which always skewed the data. I think what it came down to is that over 50% is modifiable. So somewhere up to 50% is your genetics, but over 50% is modifiable. And that's always like really important to bear in mind. And even if you do have a genetically fixed risk, you can usually change the timing or the severity through behavior and choice. And Alzheimer's, which you were talking about before, is a really prime example. We get lots of people coming through, they're worried about their ApoE4 status, which is a gene that predisposes you to Alzheimer's, whether you're heterozygous or homozygous. Again, increases your risk. But we actually know with Alzheimer's and dementia, the behavior is the biggest factor, and when the disease becomes symptomatic. And that's the most important thing. You might get Alzheimer's when you're 98, and you might have it for 2 years. And if you don't have it up until then, that's probably okay. Yeah.
Manageable.
Manageable. But you can manage that. And the biggest things are sleep and exercise and diet. And if you hyper optimize, you'll be okay. So that's where it's useful to know your biology, and then know where you have to implement interventions and which interventions. You sort of, what cards you're holding.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, a lot of what you guys do is very much data driven. It's not just like, plucking and thinking. What role does the data play? Is it the tests, or is it doing something different with the information once you have it? Tell us about how you.
Data's fairly complicated. It's useful and beautiful when you get it right, but it's not about the volume of tests. It's not like more numbers is better necessarily. You have to consider the quality of the data you're getting and its interpretation and what the follow-up is. So anyone can run more tests, but they have to be usable. The clinician has to be acting on what the test is telling you, and it has to be tracked over time. The kind of problem with having so much data without expert interpretation is just noise. And many tests there's a lot of tests out there that are unreliable, especially things that are very quick and very cheap. Not all of them, but they will provide unreliable data points. And I think at a consumer level, you kind of have to be a bit alive to that. So like tracking behavior stuff in real time, very often you're using kind of proxy markers, which are not, I won't get into that now because we'll run out of time. But like It's useful for tracking, like,
Yeah.
you are getting your Apple Watch telling you what your oxygen saturation is, may provide you with a useful measure of something going up or down, like if you're sick, but it's not an absolute marker. It's not telling you the real value.
Yeah, got you. What are your thoughts, just talking about sort of, especially like online tests? So, like the food allergy tests, things like that. Do you think those are helpful, or is that a bit controversial with some of these ones that you've got online?
How does
That,
an online test for food allergies work?
fuck knows.
What are you talking
You get
about?
you get them on Instagram. So on Instagram, it's always like, oh, just do this little test thing, send it off, and then they'll tell you whether you've got food allergies or not. But then I've spoken
Like a
with some,
quiz?
no, like they'll send you a pack, and I think you do like a I don't know if it's a finger prick or something like that.
Oh, like one of those. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then some people are like they're total crap, and then
I may, if I may, I'm more in the total crap camp. But I'm
yeah.
not a clinician. I'll just
No,
clarify that.
no, but I've
From
spoken to friends who work in that space, and they were like, "Save your money and do somewhere, do it properly."
Yeah, I mean, the thing with, okay, so there's a difference between allergies and intolerances. So if you do
Okay,
a
good to
proper
know.
allergy test, I don't think it works off a pinprick though. I think it has to be live blood. It will look for proper allergies, where often the kind of intolerance tests start to get like over interpreted, is they'll look for any kind of elevation of the allergen marker in the blood and tell you that, oh, you have an intolerance, which is just a normal reaction to a foodstuff. And that's where it's crap, because what they do then is they tell you that you have 17 intolerances off the basis of a test that does exactly what it's supposed to. Your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to. Then they'll give you a very restrictive diet plan with maybe some other things that you can do to help those intolerances along.
And then it's like,
so
if you don't eat any food, you're not going to be intolerant.
Right, and it's just selling you stuff. The only really way to deal with like an intolerance is actually to do like a quiz where you sort of track your symptoms, track your diet, eliminate stuff, bring it back in, and then see how you manage it.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't have time for. And I think this segues really nicely.
It's very boring. When you tell people that, sometimes they're like, actually, I don't think I am intolerant.
Yeah, like, it's okay, I'll just manage it. It's fine. A lot of our audience, our community, they're very busy people, as your clients are, running businesses, international lives, loads of pressure, etc. What patterns do you see the most with people living at the kind of pace and that level?
I think lots of people are struggling with managing their sleep because they are working long hours, or they're dealing with things outside of their work, which are also taking up significant amounts of time. They're traveling, so their circadian rhythms are off. Dealing with a lot of chronic low-grade stress. There's like decision fatigue, which is affecting their choices around food and exercise, and like they're deprioritizing their own health. And the other thing, running hand in hand with that, is that people in that kind of environment are often like relying on quick fix behaviors to try and get them through. So again, we're looking at people taking lots of supplements, lots of caffeine. Maybe they're getting like plastic surgery because they don't have time to lose the weight. No judgment, just that's a lot of what's happening. Lots of short bursts of intense exercise followed by injury. People really and you can see the appeal, but everyone's like, oh, I've found this thing, and it says that if I do it for 8 weeks, I'm going to be amazing at the end of it. And it doesn't tend to work like that. Consistency is king for everyone.
Well, it's like all of these, what are they, the IV drips and things like that as well, that you now get anywhere, like in, some sort of like pop-up beauty salon, they'll do your Botox and like a B12 drip, IV drip, or was it NAD IV, all of these things. And it's like, is that actually useful, or is it just another sort of gimmick that hasn't been data driven?
Yeah, I mean, if you have absorption issues, or if you're really depleted or something, then an IV can help. I don't know if I would use it as like a steady state tool every Saturday, get an IV.
Yeah, I think some people use it as a hangover. And
it does work.
There we go. That is a life hack we all need. So going back to things like time zones, travel, we're talking about a lot of sleep here. How might that show up in sort of like, a standard blood panel? How do you account for that type of life when building a health picture?
Yeah, it's kind of, they're all like physiological stressors, but sort of probably low level ones. So it's not like they're going to affect your blood markers, but they will show up in like your recovery markers. So your heart rate might be elevated, your HRV might be low. They might be affecting your health more broadly, but it's a bit more insidious and slow. So the way we kind of work with that is we always factor in lifestyle context with people, because you can't really take that piece out for most people. It's not like you can sort of sell them like a perfect protocol and they follow it at home, but in reality, they're traveling 30 to 50% of the time. So you kind of have to figure that into like any complete health plan. It's the easiest time to fall off the wagon. So talk with people through ways, coach them through them. We stay in regular contact with them so they can plan for making healthier choices, whether it's your meals, booking a PT while you're away, the timing of meals, how do you get back on track when you're home, how do you optimize for time to sleep. We work with a sleep expert who works with elite athletes, and that's a big part of her job. How do you sleep when you're changing time zones and you're on the go, and make sure that you're in the right state that you need to be for when you need to perform.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things as well that we should bring up, is that a lot of your clients are not based in London. They are globally mobile, and you can actually reach out to them wherever they are in the world and help
We
them.
do, yeah. I'd say most of the, in light of all of the tax changes in the UK, most of our clients are now no longer based permanently in the UK. But they come to us for their investigations, and the other services we provide largely remotely. It's all about communication and staying online and with them, and WhatsApp, telemedicine, phone calls, whatever they need. That's kind of what we're here to do.
Yeah, and that is such a valuable service as well, especially if they probably don't know where they are half the time, juggling time zones and all sorts. But let's go back to women in particular, as we are them, and they are 50% of the population, although some people like to forget that. Even more, even better. We just need some more rights. So women at certain stages of life are dealing with hormonal changes, business transitions, shifting family responsibilities. How would precision health approach respond to that combination? There's a lot going on there, and often it's just like, just rest is not, that's not an option.
No, not rest. And I see a lot of women at certain stages of life, my stage of life, who are getting recommended antidepressants, because they're not recognizing that their shifts are more to do with physiological changes, but also lifestyle kind of things that are going on in their life as well. And while antidepressants can help some, they're maybe not addressing the underlying issues. So we kind of have to look again at the person as a whole. This time of life can affect mood, metabolism, cognitive load, and the symptoms can be physical, they can be psychological, and they're in a bit of a loop. They're all feeding each other. So it's not that there's a single root cause that's creating all of the effects that you're feeling at this stage. And as hormones shift, the effects will be different. So what works in your late 30s is going to be different in your 40s, going to be different in your 50s. It's not as bad as it sounds. This is kind of where the multidisciplinary approach really does come into its own. Your nutritionist, your doctor, your coach, as long as they kind of are aware that what they're playing with, they can look at the shift from different angles, and they can suggest sort of strategies to help, whether that is HRT, whether that's some kind of coaching, counseling, whatever, whether that's making changes to your diet, to your exercise regime. I think at this time in life, which is a long time in life, it's like a third of your life, really. Everyone should be kind to themselves, and they know that they deserve some answers. They can sometimes be hard to get.
Well, I think that's a really crucial sort of like nail on the head moment there, is having the answers to the questions that you've been like wanting to ask and continuously searching for. And I think that frustration is a compounding effect of actually a lot of women not seeking treatment, because they're just fed up with having doors closed in their face, or just not finding a solution. So, having many people look at it from all of the different angles and therapies, I think is a bit of a relief, actually, that somebody can get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and it is possible.
It is possible. There is hope out there. There's a huge amount of noise around longevity right now. If you go on Instagram, everybody is a longevity expert. I don't know what the actual definition of expert is, but I don't think that many people would actually fit that criteria often. There are so many supplements, there are wearables, there's recovery protocols, there's all these like jab tests, as I mentioned before. How do you help someone work out what is actually worth their time and their money?
The honest answer is you kind of need your own baseline data to work out what you need, as a lot of these things will be treating a problem that you may not have. And it's very easy to spend money on them. You won't really know if they're working or not. And you'll just be kind of hoping that there'll be some effect down the line that's worth paying for. So I don't really recommend any protocols like going into them blind. The right intervention for everyone is one that's calibrated to what their own results and biology are actually showing. I mean, on our own end, like obviously we create personalized protocols for people, so that's kind of based on what they find. So they get personalized multivits, or they get our own like personalized vitamin formulations, but only when recommended and when necessary. And it's about kind of working with the individual as they are.
That's it. And I am a sucker for a supplement. I don't take them, but I buy them.
Like most people, even better.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, that is going to fix me. That packaging, fantastic. Looks great on my shelf. I just haven't now got time to take them all. I don't know when to take them. It's like, take this without food.
Yeah.
I actually took a photo of them and then put it into Claude and was like, can you create a supplement protocol for me? And I was like, I'm going to spend half the day taking supplements. So I'm just going to do none. I was like, nope, I'm okay. But yeah, it's really tricky. So having somebody actually tell you this is what you need is so valuable. I guess if someone wanted to start investing seriously in their long-term health today, where would you tell them to begin?
I tell them to do a proper baseline test, which usually really is underpinned by like get a really good blood panel done. So you want someone to do your like standard bloods, but you also want someone to look at your hormones. You want to look at vitamins and minerals, which gets expensive, but that's kind of where you layer on the really higher value stuff, and then work from that. And then ideally have someone who'd be happy for you to come back and redo them in like 6 to 12 months time, so you can see if anything's changing. That's kind of that's the start of everything that you want to do. And then always pick sort of a couple of things that you want to work on. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't have to design a full framework protocol for yourself. You can probably work out what's going to make the biggest difference. And always remember that it's not about this week or next week. It's kind of, what am I going to be doing 12 months from now?
I think that's really sensible. And actually, I always recommend to my clients about doing financial check-ins with themselves on at least a quarterly basis. But actually, I think they should actually be scheduling in health checkups for themselves on a quarterly basis, where it's just, reviewing the data, as you say, and thinking, right, where am I at from there?
Yeah.
Go to a professional saying, right, okay, let's update our bloods or whatever the markers are that they're looking at, and then having an annual full review. Because that's what I tell clients to do, that, all of their insurances and all these bits and bobs, and it's life admin. And I think this falls into that life admin category where it
100%.
is essential, but it is not attractive.
I think a quarterly approach is totally sensible, and look at it like holistically, not just your blood work. You may not want to do your bloods that often, but how's your diet been for the last 3 months? How's your exercise been for the last 3 months? How's your sleep been? What do you think you can tweak in the next 3 months? And we all have ups and downs. One of the things I'm really keen on explaining to people is your health is dynamic. Even if you're trying to optimize yourself, you're still going to have these peaks and troughs. And what optimizing yourself does is it makes you resilient to the troughs. And that's what we're always trying to build, is resilience, so that when you do get sick, when you do go through a stressful time in life, your body can cope.
Yeah. And I think as well, thinking about seasonally, because different things happen. You've got different stresses throughout the year. You've got different, air conditions, or, the heat, I'm sure, is not enjoyable for some people. Some people like the cold and the dark. But again, I think doing things quarterly can help you to do it almost seasonally as well.
Exactly. And again, be kind of understanding and look to the quarter ahead as well. Is rosy coming up? Is that something you lean into? How are you going to?
Yeah. Is it rosy season? Do I need to do more liver cleansing? Dust that off, and then do it all again for Christmas. So what's the change that you see, that you've seen shift someone's trajectory, something that seemed small at the time but turned out to matter a great deal?
So we had, I don't know if these are small or not, but I asked the team, what have we seen our clients do? So one client apparently used to drink 20 coffees a day, law firm partner. But actually, and another law firm partner we had him recently used to drink something like 20 Diet Cokes a day, same sort of thing. I know, poor people working in law. So he's now down to 3 or 4 coffees a day. His main issue that the team found was that he was not malnourished, but he was depleted because he was drinking coffee instead of eating. So rather than getting like good nourishing food into his body, he was just powering along with caffeine. I'm sure we've all been there for a day or two at least. But also he was quite anxious. His sleep was terrible. All of it was linking back to this like extreme caffeine habit, which he's now cut down, but not eliminated. That's kind of very much the Hooke strategy. You love coffee by all means, but 20 is too many. We spoke to another client who said that this sounds like quite a big thing, but she said she used to be a big catastrophizer. So every problem used to give her big anxiety. And she worked with a Hooke coach and she taught her like a very simple exercise, but she's like, now that takes me 15 seconds and I can manage it. So she just asked herself, like, whenever a problem arises, is it fatal?
Yeah. Is it fatal? Often not. But, you know, our brain likes to catastrophize. So, I completely
and if the answer is no, then do a decision tree of what you're going to do. And she's like, it's amazing because it just completely pulls me back from the brink.
Yeah. And it gives you control, a sense of control as well. It's like, I think that's a huge anxiety lever, is feeling out of control. And sometimes you just have to say, fuck it, I can't do anything about it. We just go on.
Exactly. And drinking 20 coffees a day.
Yeah, that's gonna make you feel a bit jittery.
Yeah.
No, but I like that. But again, I think it's until somebody actually pulls you out and says, hey, you can't keep going on like this. It's what I call professional parenting, because sometimes, as I've said to you before, you're like, that's adulting. But it's just like having somebody pull you, self-parenting, that's it, pulling you away and just saying, hang on a second, this isn't good for you. Let's do something that is good for you. And you're like, oh, okay, someone else has told me this, therefore I can take this on board.
Yes. Yeah. Really helpful.
Yeah, we all need that. So we're coming to the end of time now. If someone wanted to bring one specific question or concern to their first conversation with you and the team, what would make that conversation most useful and beneficial for them?
So if you're dealing with like one specific concern, you want to be as specific as possible in describing it. So I'm tired, which we all are, is like less useful than I'm tired despite sleeping 8 hours and eating well. And if you have if this is a recent or like relatively recent complaint, you want to set out a history because it will help the person you're speaking to identify the onset of any symptoms or any triggers that may have come around that time. And then the team's job will be to find out what's beneath the presenting symptoms, not just respond to the complaint. So kind of you need to entertain their questions because they'll be looking for avenues to explore from the obvious to the less obvious. And, again, with something like I'm tired, it can come from any number of things. So they'll really be looking to drill into when did you become tired? Why are you tired? Are you doing anything that we would expect to make you tired? Or are we looking for something that's a bit more insidious?
Yeah. I think that's so helpful. Yeah, and it is, again, it's the unknown unknowns. You're like, I just don't feel right. And it's like, okay, but then we need the prompts from you to dig out from that, because actually you can just kind of end up going
into and it's a process. It can be, it can be frustrating. Sometimes you have an aha moment when someone's speaking. Not me, again, I'm not clinical, but the team. When someone's speaking to you and they sort of are like, I think it's quite likely this. And sometimes you don't, and you have to just keep eliminating things and finding different avenues until you find it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much. Little bonus question: is there anything that you would suggest, one takeaway of a little health span, what you can do for yourself today, sort of tip for anyone?
Get outside. We've got such beautiful weather at the moment. When it's not too hot, if anyone is too hot, get outside, get that vitamin D, get out in the sunshine, go for a walk in the park. It's so nice being out in nature. It's so makes such a difference to your mood when the sun is out. So I would say do it for the vitamin D, do it for your mood, do it for any social occasion you might have. It's calming, it regulates your nervous system. You just feel so much better for it.
I love that. Forest bathing all the way.
Bathing.
Yeah, all of the above. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for sharing all of your wonderful wisdom. For anybody who has had their interest piqued, I really recommend you going and seeing Kate actually in their beautiful space. They've got the most gorgeous townhouse, and it just radiates everything that Kate has spoken about in terms of the clinical practitioners and the 5-star treatment that they give to their clients is the whole service package. So yeah, I really recommend going to check them out and bringing a conversation to them when you're ready. But yeah, thank you so much, Kate, and I look forward to seeing you soon.